Hi guys, and welcome back to another video again with Powers. I'm Jake, and in today's video, I'll be giving you a review of the brand new board game One Earth. Okay, One Earth, the board game coming to you from Qadi or Cation Arts. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that wrong, but they're the same people that brought you All Time Wrestling, another kind of newish Kickstarter game, and then One Earth is also coming to you from Mazdar or Moondala Company. All right, in One Earth, the board game, guys, you are a leader. You'll be choosing a leader, and you are trying to build the most prosperous city that you can, but you also have to be careful to make sure that the global emissions does not make the Earth inhabitable. And so you are competing against other players, but you're working cooperatively together to make sure that you have a sustainable Earth. All right. Before we go into my review, I want to go down to the table and show you guys how a 3 to 5 player game works. I have a solo playthrough on my channel. I'll go ahead and link it up there somewhere. A 1 or 2 player game is gonna feel and be the exact same because you're gonna be using that autonomous mode. One Earth is really designed to be played for 3 to 5 players, and so we're gonna jump down to the table. I'm gonna show you how that works really quickly, and then we'll be back up top here for my review. So we're down here at the table, guys, where we have everything set up for a 4-player game of One Earth, the board game. I kind of have the markers distributed, just kind of pretending like we've gone a couple rounds into the game. But the mechanics of the game is going to remain fairly the same. There's just going to be some new steps at the start of every single round. Before that, just give you a quick overview of the game. Again, you'll be choosing a leader. The goal is you'll be on your turn. The first thing that'll happen is you will collect money equal to your prosperity. So for example, like the green player, he's at a level 10, so he'll get 10 coins. Purple player would get 8, and so forth and so on. You're going to use these coins. You can buy up to 2 projects. So funding 2 projects that are down here, or you can spend 2 cards to wipe out all these projects, put 6 more out, and then put those projects back in the deck and shuffle them, kind of redraw the deck here, okay? But you'll be taking these projects, and when you take one, we'll just be taking a look at the hospital here. In the top left-hand corner will be the emissions and the prosperity. So you'll be raising your emissions, global emissions, and your prosperity track by the numbers that are on your card. You can also fund 1 climate policy and 1 technology per turn. So all of that remains the standard. The next thing that's the new mechanics are going to be to start a round. You're going to have 4 different steps. The first step is going to be to audit the player with the sanction card, okay? So there's going to be a sanction card that's going to be coming out. And so what's going to happen is a player with this sanction card is only going to be able to earn a maximum of 4 currency this round, okay? So we're going to audit the player with this, and you audit it by doing step 2 and 3. So it says at the end of the round, if the global emissions is greater than 20, and you are still the highest emitter, the player with the sanction card is still the highest emitter, you must discard your highest emitting project, okay? The highest project that you have that has the most emissions, you'll need to discard that. You will lose prosperity, you will decrease the global emissions track and your emissions track as well. So for example, let's just say this high-speed rail right here was the highest. The green is the highest emitter, right? So he has the sanction card. He's got a high-speed rail. He would have to discard this, so he would lose 2 emissions down to 10. Global emissions would go down 2, and then he would go down 2 prosperity down to 8. Okay, so that's how that would work. If at the end of the round global emissions is less than 21, okay, and this person is no longer the highest emitter, the sanction is then lifted, okay? So you will be the sanction. So again, just to remind you, if emissions is 20, equal to 20, greater than or equal to 20, and you are still the highest emitter, then you must discard a project card. If it is less than 21 and you are no longer the highest emitter, you will get to discard the sanction card. So that's kind of the first step. The second step is you will pass the first player marker to the next player. The third step is you will then check the global emissions to see if you are going to draw a warning card or a critical card, okay? So if emissions is from 0 to 10, anywhere from 0 to 10 global emissions, nothing's going to happen. You'll skip this step. If it is 11 through 20, you will draw a warning event card, okay? And these are going to be different things, like I'll just flip one over. So this is new resources discovered, okay? So it says all players are earning 2 additional currency this round. So some of these cards, there's only 4 cards total. There's 2 that are going to help you. There's going to be 2 that they will hurt you, all right? And so you will draw one of those cards from the deck. If admissions, global admissions, is ever greater than 21, you will have to draw from the critical event deck. And I don't want to spoil these critical events because they are very critical. All right. And you will need to draw one of those. Again, if it's 0 to 10, you're skipping this step. 11 to 20, warning event. 21 or greater, a critical event. All right. And then the final step is you are going to hold a UN meeting. You will hold a United Nations meeting. And this is where the game really shines. And so in this meeting, you will determine and you will, well, first of all, if global admissions is higher than 21, you will go into a meeting automatically. If you are playing in the advanced mode, all right, then in the advanced mode, after round 2, you will go into a meeting every single round, okay? In the regular mode, you would only go into a UN meeting above 21, and the advanced mode, meeting every single round, okay? And so in the meeting, the first thing that you're going to do is if global admissions is over 21, you will give out the sanction card. So the highest emitter player will get the sanction card. Now here's where it gets fun because the person that is going to get the sanction card can make an argument as to why they should not get the sanction card, okay? They can make deals. You can't trade cards for deals, but you can say something like, okay, on my turn, I'm going to spend all of my cash and I'm going to fund the highest level climate policy so I can reduce emissions and things like that, or I won't take any cards, blah, 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 blah. Whatever arguments they want to give, and if the players vote on it, the players will take a vote, and if they agree, then they won't get the card. However, if they all deny it, that person is going to get the card. So you kind of get to argue and do like a meeting, kind of like a United Nations meeting, okay? So that is how that works. And then the final, so that's step 1, 2, and 3 of a United Nations meeting. You will sanction the player. The second thing is the player has a chance to argue against it. The third thing is you guys will all take a vote, and then you will hand out or not hand out the sanction card. The last thing is the player that has the first player token will get to propose a resolution, okay? And these resolutions are different acts or laws that can be passed in the game. So for example, we'll take a look at this one. It says ban nuclear and hydroelectronic. So it says if this resolution passes, you will discard all nuclear power plants and hydroelectric power plants from the game, including funded projects, and you must adjust the emissions and prosperity as markers accordingly, okay? So when this come out, let's say a person proposes this, you will then have the option to vote on it. And so each player will have these small little crown cardboard punch-outs. You get 4 of them, and you will get to determine whether you want to vote yes or no. If you want to vote yes, you just put your marker on it. Now, you only have 4 of these, so you only have 4 yeses. So you can only vote yes on 4 laws, all right? So once everybody has voted, there is a popular vote, and this is kind of where you can kind of sway the vote, and it's supposed to take over the other nations. So what's going to happen at this point in time is everybody will take some cash in their hand, and they're going to make a closed fist, and then everybody's going to say yes or no, and then they're going to reveal the cash, and that the total amount of cash they have in their hand is for that vote. So if I say no and reveal a 2, that means there's 2 votes for a no. If I say yes, that means there's 2 votes for a yes, all right? And so if the bill passes, it passes. If it does not pass and you vote no, you will gain 2 coins for that, all right? So those are the 4 steps that are getting added in a 3 to 5 player game. That is, again, to start every round. You will audit the person with the sanction card. You will be drawing either warning or critical events or skipping that step. You will pass the first player marker. That'll always happen in every game. And then the first player will get to propose a resolution. So those are the new steps that are added in a 3-5 player game. Hope that made sense. Let's go jump back up top and let's go jump right into my review. All right, well, I hope you guys got to enjoy that little walkthrough tutorial. I hope everything I said made sense. That 3 to 5 players where this game is really going to shine. But let's go ahead and jump straight into my review. So starting off with the theme here, I'm going to go ahead and give this theme an 8 out of 10. I think this is a very good theme here with One Earth, and the way the mechanics, the theme integrates into the mechanics of the game, I think is wonderful here, right? It's, you are a leader, you're trying to build your own city, but you're trying to work with the other leaders around the world, and you are trying to make sure that you have the most prosperous city, but you don't make the earth inhabitable or uninhabitable, because then basically you all lose. And so it has this semi-cooperative aspect to it of where I'm trying to have the best city, but also I'm trying to work with the other players to make sure that at least one of us can win the game, because if the emissions track ever reaches 30, everybody will lose, okay? And so you're trying to have this delicate balance of, I need to get the most prosperity, but I need to make sure global emissions is not high. And so you want to try and work with each other. And so it's really cool, trying to communicate and do all that stuff, and then holding those UN meetings and taking votes and things like that. Again, I think the theme and the mechanics work really, really well together. So 8 out of 10 for me. All right, so up next we have the components. As always with the components, guys, I'm going to jump back to the table, show off the components, talk about them, and then we'll be back up top to finish the rest of the review. All right, so taking a look at the components, I'm going to go ahead and give them a 6.5 out of 10. I think these components here with One Earth are just kind of meh. I think they're just very generic and average, okay? This is the actual version of the game. Again, this was backed on GameFound. There were no stretch goals or anything like that. This is everything that's going to come in the base game. And so for me, what gives it that 0.5 above a 6 is the screen printed markers are very nice and they are wooden. And then just the artwork in general on the cards and the board itself just really, for me, is going to give it that just small notch above being okay or mediocre and things like that. But in regards to all the other components, like your coins are all cardboard punch outs. Here, I would have liked them to be metallic if they had an add-on option for that. All of your cards are just very generic, 52 playing cards, which you would expect in a standard card game. They're nice and flimsy, not very thick, small. They do have a good little spotting finish on them. Again, the artwork is great. And then other than that, like these small little cardboard punch outs for your voting tokens, I wish like those could have been like a marker or like a wooden meeple or a wooden resource or something. They could have been wooden as well. I think that would have definitely upped the game. Now, it probably would have increased the price, but I think that would have been pretty cool. In regards to that, the board itself is pretty nice, a nice cardboard. It's divided into 4 sections that you're going to flip and compact together. But yeah, look, this is everything that is coming in the game. Again, nothing too crazy, but it's just mediocre, right? It's just average of what you would expect in a typical game like this. So 6.5 out of 10 for me. All right, moving on to the setup. I'm going to go ahead and give the setup an 8 out of 10 here. I think this is very good setup to the game. It's quick and easy. Really, you're just getting the board out. Everybody's picking a leader. You're getting their markers and their little crown tokens, and then you're just distributing out each decks. And putting those out, and then with the project cards, getting the project cards out, and you are ready to play. So very quick setup here. I'm gonna say like 3 to 5 minutes. So I think that's a very good setup, and so 8 out of 10 for me. Moving on to the length. I'm going to go ahead and give the length a 7 out of 10 here. On the box, it says 20 to 40 minutes. I think it's just a little bit longer than that and what they're telling you on the box, but I don't think it's by a substantial amount, so it's still in that good range. I think at 1 to 2 players, it's going to take you about 20 to 30 minutes to play the game. At about 3 to 5 players, it's going to be around that 45 minutes to an hour range. So again, it's not a substantially higher than what they're saying on the box, but it is going to take you a little longer than that. But I still think it's in that range of what the box is telling you. It's not like the game is telling you 45 minutes and then it takes you 3 hours, right? All right, so that is the length. That is going to be a 7 out of 10 for me. Moving on to the difficulty here. Remember, as always with the difficulty, the lower the number, the easier we feel the game is. The higher the number, the more difficult we feel the game is. So I'm going to go ahead and give One Earth here a 3 out of 10. I think this game is very simple and easy to understand. On your turn, you're just gaining money equal to your prosperity, and then you're spending that money on either cards or a climate policy or a technology, and then when you buy that card, you're just moving up on the tracks, okay? I think why it's in that 3 range and not a little lower for me is because you do have a lot of options on your turn, and there's just a lot of I don't want to say maintenance, because maintenance is the wrong word. There's just a lot of steps when, like, you buy a card, you have to move your track up, move your emissions track up, move the global emissions track up, and then if you want to buy another card, you can do that. Or if you want to buy a climate policy, you can only buy one of those. You can only buy one technology. So I think that's why it's just a 3. Like, I would give this a 2 because I think it's very simple. But I'm giving it that 3 just because there's a lot of steps that you kind of have to follow. And then with that UN meeting stuff, following those steps from there when adding in those resolution cards, it does add a little bit more complexity to it, but not enough to where I think this game is overly difficult. So 3 out of 10 on the difficulty for me. All right, moving on to replayability here. I'm going to go ahead and give replayability a 7 out of 10. I think there is some good replayability here with the game. You know, every time you're playing the game, you know, you have 6 different leaders, so the variety, there's not a whole lot of variety in terms of leaders, but there is when actually playing the game. And what I mean by that is you're not going to get the same cards every single time. So sometimes you might win with very low emissions, sometimes you might win with very high emissions, and there's only 40 project cards in the deck, so you'll be able to cycle through those very quickly, but your city is going to look different almost every time, and the way you go about trying to gain the most prosperity is going to be different every single time. And so the resolution cards as well, I think there's like 20 or so resolution cards, so there's a bunch of different laws that you can pass that are going to affect the gameplay in many different aspects. So I think there's good replayability here. 7 out of 10 for me. All right, moving on to price. So I backed this on GameFound for $35. I've seen Qadi Arts. They have it on their website for $40. I've seen other couple places had it around $36, and so it's in that $35 to $40 price range. I think at $35 to $40, I'm going to give this game a 6 out of 10 here. I think that's just an okay price point. I don't really think you're getting a lot of value at that $35 to $40 range. I think at a $30 range, around there, like $28 to $32, I think that's where this game you will get really good value out of this game. Now, of course, I understand why the price point is that high. It's a relatively smaller company. You do have screen printed markers in there, wooden markers, and so that's kind of what drove the price up a little bit. But you know, at that $35 to $40 price range, it's just an okay price for a relatively smaller game such as this one. I would wait a couple months and see if it's around that $30 range, if you can pick it up there, and I think that's a good price point for this game. All right, going on to my overall rating, I'm going to go ahead and give this a 7 out of 10. I think this is a good game. I think the theme and the mechanics are what really will draw you into the game, that cooperative, that semi-cooperative, competitive aspect of, you know, you are trying to build the most prosperous city, but you got to work together to make sure global emissions does not get to 30 and everybody will lose the game, because if it hits 30, everybody loses. Doesn't matter who the highest prosperity winner is, the entire game, the entire table will lose the game. I will say though, however, this game is primarily designed and meant to be played as a 3 to 5 player game. That's where this game is really going to shine, because at 1 to 2 players, you have to use an autonomous mode, and in a 1 to 2 player game, you do not use any events, those critical events, those warning events, or any of those resolutions or laws or the sanctions. You don't use that in a 1 to 2 player game. And those things, along with the UN meetings, those don't happen in a 1 to 2 player game. Those are really what makes the game shine and what makes the game fun, is having those debates at the table of, oh no, I know I'm the highest emitter, but don't give me the sanction card, because next turn I promise I'll reduce emissions and stuff like that, and then proposing those laws and voting on the laws and then manipulating the votes. That's where this game is really going to shine, and that has to be done at a 3 to 5 player count. So if you are interested in this game and you are primarily going to be playing it with just one other person, that's something that you're going to want to consider. This is a good game night game when you have more than 3 to 5 people. When you have 3 to 5 people, that's where the game is really going to shine. That's where you're going to get the most enjoyment out of it. And at that point, that's what makes the game very good, and I like it. All right, well, that is my review for One Earth the board game. As always, guys, please go ahead and like this video. Go ahead and drop in the comments below. Did you back One Earth the board game? Have you even heard of One Earth the board game? What are your thoughts? As always, guys, hit that notification bell if you have not already to be notified when new content is dropped. We got new content dropping almost every day. And as always, subscribe to our channel so we can keep bringing you more awesome content. All right, guys, y'all have a great one. Bye.